They stood, they saw, they vanished. This is Last Seen Standing, where we explore haunted places lost to time and the stories that refuse to die. In this series, we explore the places history abandoned, and we invite researchers, local historians, and anyone intrigued by forgotten lore to help us rediscover where these haunted locations once stood. What remains beneath the soil? What secrets are waiting to be unearthed? Ghost stories, murders, dead children, a staircase soaked in blood. In the swamps of old Florida, before it was even American soil, a massive stone castle stood silent and brooding on the banks of the Caloosahatchee River. They called it the House of Tragedy. Today, no one remembers it, but 100 years ago it was notorious. This is the story of Castle Lamier, a fortress built on crime, tragedy, and something even darker. In 1803, a man calling himself Marquis Lamier arrived in Spanish-controlled Florida. Nobody knew where he came from. Some said he fled France after committing unspeakable crimes during the Revolution. He brought with him immense wealth, rumored to be stolen from murdered nobles. During the French Revolution, royal treasuries were plundered. Some say Lamier left with more than blood on his hands. He left with gold. He acquired a large tract of land along the Caloosahatchee River, close enough to the sea for easy access, but isolated enough for secrecy. On it, he built a stone castle with a grand gated entrance and 20 stone slave cabins. This wasn't a plantation in the typical sense. Lamier knew nothing of agriculture. His estate was a fortress, a lair. The only nearby settlement was a small village that would one day become Samville. Even then, the locals whispered. Lamier imported wines, liquors and silks from Europe. He hosted night-long parties with brutal men and high-stakes gambling. The castle became a center of excess, cruelty and fear. Not long after the castle was built, 2 women joined Lamier, Mrs. Pierre, who called herself the housekeeper, and a girl named Antoinette Brisac. He introduced Antoinette as his ward, though the relationship was darker than it seemed. She was 15, French, and completely isolated. Antoinette didn't speak English or Spanish. The Marquis kept her confined to a corner of the grand hall, always within sight. She was watched, mocked, harassed. Her only refuge came in the form of a slave named Aunt Cleo, who watched over her like a mother. The two shared a tragic bond, both imprisoned in different ways. On Christmas Eve, Antoinette fled in her nightdress to Aunt Cleo's cabin, sobbing and gasping. She said the Marquis told her he had murdered her father, that he would do the same to her unless she submitted and gave herself to him. Aunt Cleo was terrified. When Lamier and Mrs. Pierre found the girl, they dragged her back to the castle. Cleo didn't interfere. She feared it would only make things worse. By noon, Antoinette was dead. Her body was found on the 3rd step landing. Her throat was so deeply slashed it was nearly severed. Blood poured down the stairs. Lamier declared she'd been depressed ever since leaving her family in France, that she couldn't withstand the grief any longer. Cleo, unable to stay silent, accused Lamier directly when the sheriff arrived. She claimed she saw him do it. Whether she did or not didn't matter. She wanted justice. The next morning, Aunt Cleo was found hanged in her cabin. He bribed officials with cash and fine wine. Both deaths were ruled self-inflicted. But the bloodshed didn't stop there. 6 months later, Mrs. Pierre suffered a breakdown as a result of delirium tremens. The slaves, tired of her cruelty, chased her through the upper floor. She fled down the same staircase where Antoinette had died. She slipped. Her neck snapped when she hit the floor. Then came the final tragedy. On the 1-year anniversary of Antoinette's murder, Lamier invited a stranger named Alphonse Latour to the castle for a high-stakes card game. It lasted 3 days. On Christmas morning, Latour accused Lamier of cheating. Both men drew pistols. Both fired. Latour died instantly. Lamier bled out minutes later. The castle was now silent. Its original occupants were all dead. For decades, the castle stood empty. Buyers came and went, but none stayed. That changed when Richard Martin Smith arrived, a rugged Alaskan gold prospector turned retiree. He was drawn to the castle's stone strength and riverside view. He also wanted to get as far from the cold as he could. He ignored the locals' warnings. He modernized the home, added electricity, updated the plumbing, and brought in new furnishings. Then he moved his family in. The first day was fine. The first night was not. They heard glass clinking, cards shuffling, laughter, footsteps, then screams, a woman begging, a man cursing, the thud of a body falling downstairs, liquid dripping.
The problem that I'm working on, Father. All this bleeding.
The entire family heard it. None slept. In the morning, every family member instinctively stepped over something unseen on the landing where Antoinette had died. They knew nothing of the home's history, but they fled. Smith sold the house at a massive loss. The next owner was John Phillips, a showman and real estate promoter. He saw the castle as a gold mine, not a tomb. To prove it wasn't haunted, he invited 12 men, lawyers, doctors, a priest and a minister, to stay with him for a week. To further prove his point, he brought his 4-year-old daughter Mary. To disprove the legend of the stairway, he placed a dish of candy on a table at the top. He asked Mary to go get a piece. She walked toward it, but froze on the landing. She stepped around something invisible. The men were horrified. They left that night. Phillips stayed. At dawn, his screams were heard from the house. He ran into Samville with Mary's lifeless body in his arms. His hair had turned white overnight. Doctors said she died of shock. Phillips never spoke of what happened. He gave the house away. In 1906, the locals decided Castle Lamier had to go. Newspapers across America carried the story of the horrors and hauntings in the stone structure. The ground itself is silent, but not empty. On January 1st, 1907, it was demolished. No formal record was kept. What was built there afterward is unknown. Lamier stood outside Samville and is believed to have been somewhere in the vicinity of northern Fort Myers. This modern photograph, taken with Google Maps, shows a possible location and even has barren spots where the castle's stone lion gates might have been. The name Lamier is not part of any French peerage. In French, it translates to knife or sometimes nettle. He may have been a pirate. Florida was a haven for them in those days. Or perhaps a noble who fled with stolen French treasures. After all, during the Revolution, the royal treasury was raided. Among the stolen gems, the French blue diamond, later believed to be the Hope Diamond. As for Antoinette Brissac, her name echoes that of the Brissac family, real nobles who died during the Revolution. One was famously decapitated, his head thrown into a lover's window. History is written in whispers, sometimes screams. Can you help us locate the remnants of this haunting home? Drop your answers in the comments. Like this video for more of Last Seen Standing.
This is just a reminder to subscribe to enjoy our growing collection of paranormal content. Don't forget to like your favorite episode and ring the bell to be notified of new content. As always, thanks for watching.